Pardon me and my tone. You can't step to my throne. They ain't working like me. I did this on my own. You asking where we been, huh? I don't know where to begin, huh? All this dirt on my skin. I just came here to win. I'm more than a man, I'm a monster. Somebody call a pastor, doctor. I got a 6th sense for imposters. So now I'm coming for the whole roster. It's not a game, why you playing with me? You could double back, lose track, try and hang with me. It must be in my veins, something you can't tame, cause I break the chain. Can't control me. I got the power.
Welcome to the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is the Indie Kid.
I'm Dauber. What's happening, man?
Hey, man, what's going on?
Living the dream.
Yeah, buddy. Tennessee 90, Texas A&M 80, largest amount Tennessee's put on the scoreboard in a pretty good while tonight, actually. Just go ahead. Let me run through the chat real quick, and then I'm going to kick it right to you for your thoughts. John Hill got to finish stronger. Looked a little questionable for a bit, and then I felt that this team – I felt they closed strong tonight. I felt got a little iffy at one point, but felt they closed strong. Jimmy Burnett became a member. Thank you, Jimmy, for becoming a member of the channel. B. Hunter, Chandler's turned into a turnover machine. He did some good things tonight, though. He had some sloppy moments. He had some indecisiveness before the half, and Barnes mentioned that in the interview before the half. Texas A&M defense stepped up. That's what we've been looking for. Wayne Starnes do what? And then he expands. I'm sorry I lost you with my dribble. Yo, you're referring to Ziegler. That was insane. Let's see. Audio difficulties were funny because on my screen, all of a sudden, TLC, No Scrubs started playing. I don't know if that was in the arena or what, but kind of funny there. Let's see how it goes. Tim Bradley, I'm cool with audio difficulty for the rest of the game. It was kind of funny for a few minutes, actually. Terry Reed, good to see you back, Terry. Hope your rotator cuff's doing better. Great win. District 1 in conference perspective, it's a huge win. Could easily go into the Kentucky game 9-3. That's a good point. That's something we'll get into here in just a few minutes. Boosted 931. Go Vols. Joshua Hull. Wish his team had shown up against Texas.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Sam Hargrove. Tennessee still learning how to execute its offense. All right. Brandon Sieber. Tennessee's first time scoring 90 in 11 games. Thank you. Wasn't not sure how long it had been. Tennessee football 247 high. John Hill for $4.99, $5. Good to see you back, Dauber. And on that, Dauber, let's kick it to you.
Good to be back
on the night.
I was watching the Texas game from laying in the bed. I couldn't sit up and hang out Saturday afternoon. I was in too much pain. Still pretty sore, but all things considered, surgery went well. On the road to recovery. So appreciate you guys. Oh man, first thoughts on this game tonight. I think we talked about it before. I think we've commented early in the season this team didn't have an identity, and I think this team's found their identity, and they kind of just are what they are. They can come out and play really good basketball, and in the same week turn around and come out and look like half of them haven't been in the gym to play before. Offensively, I'll say probably more consistent than they've been in a while, but still, I think they go through too many little spurts and dry spells that allows their opponent to get back in the game. And then they're at times careless with the ball. from lazy telegraph passes to I think just not knowing what they're going to do with it before they pick their dribble up. And a couple guys talking about Chandler. Um, you can put some of that on him, but the kid's a true freshman, and I think he does show that sometimes, even with his immense talent. Um, you got to give him a few mistakes every once in a while. But yeah, the other thing I'll say is, if this game was in College Station, I don't know that it would have went the way it went in Thompson Bowling, because I think this team has a comfort zone and they play so much better in Thompson Bowling.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it's amazing how much difference there is. Now they still, and going to this, John Hill again for 5. Thank you. Are we the most spurtiest team or what? That's a perfect segue again to what you said about Thompson Bowling. These spurts they go on, and we've said it before, and you've said it numerous times. This team playing to their competition, and they do that most of the time, regardless of whether it's on the home, whether it's at home, or whether it's on the road. They just have a better knack for finishing at home than they have on the road. But I mean, they had those spurts tonight. Come out of the gates hot. One thing about it is they never did trail tonight. 45 seconds in, they took the lead. They never looked back.
Got cut to 1. I think cut to 1.
Yeah, cut it to 1 with about 7 minutes to go. And then Justin Powell, all of a sudden, back-to-back threes. That was big. And I did see tonight, I thought there was some more confidence in some guys tonight. I've seen some guys a little more wanting it tonight than they have. Kamwa
comes to mind.
Victor Bailey is starting to show a little confidence too. He ended up with 5 points tonight, but he's starting to
in the game,
show a little bit.
Had a couple shot attempts that were not threes.
Yeah, had a dunk.
Yeah, so good pump faking right to the rim. Yeah, I mean that's what you want to see, guys coming off the bench and contributing. Not just coming up and eating minutes. So, that's good to see. How about Ziegler putting the kid from A&M on skates and then hitting that 3?
That's crazy, man. That was crazy. It was just a quick juke and then nothing but net.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, that guy is, if he's not already, he's going to be a big time. I gotta imagine he's kind of the favorite in Knoxville. People love him. Again, we've said it numerous times. What a steal! What a find! What a player he is. I mean, the guy just every game he's bringing it. He's doing good things. Let's see. Pro Wrestling Guru, $2. Team is FF team at home, not a top 100 on the road. Yeah, a Final Four team. Okay. Yeah, they are. And in neutral site games, I mean, you had Villanova where they didn't show up for that game, turned around the next day to North Carolina and had possibly their most complete game of the season. And then the Texas Tech game at Madison Square Garden, which was somehow they still almost won that game with shooting as bad as they did that night. Let's see here. Brandon, one thing I can say, I try to take pride in how I pronounce names, because I know mine gets butchered quite a bit, my last name. So I try to return the favor. Let's see. This is a good one here. And I thought this tonight, just watching. At one point, Bailey's in, and then you just see Meshack make a random appearance, and then it's Powell who randomly comes in. I still don't think they do. There's no rotation. It's just, I get it. I think they try to give breathers, and it just so happened with Powell, he got hot and hit 2 in a row.
Yeah.
But, I think you've got your James, Vescovy, Chandler, Ziegler. I think those 4 are going to go for the most part, and then I think they play the hot guy at the 5. Happened to be Kamwa tonight. But, yeah, I totally agree with that comment. I don't feel there's a rotation still at this point in the season, I don't know that we're going to see a specific rotation.
There have been games where you've had, Kamwa coming out looking good and then hardly sees the floor in the second half.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's questionable, but I think they found their stride running Chandler, Ziegler, and Vescovi out there at the same time. I think the offense runs a lot better. It's definitely, there are a lot more options out there when those guys are out there.
I like that I think there is too, especially from a ball handling standpoint. It really kind of blows my mind too, thinking about the other night against Texas. And I know Barnes said that, well, those guys who made that run wanted to stay in. But, in that case, when you're down and you got to go the length of the court, I want all my ball handlers in. Yeah. It still kind of blows my mind Chandler wasn't in on that. I don't know that it would have made a difference because, you want to try to get as close as you can on that. But the fact of the matter is they had an open shot to end that game the other night and just missed it. But I feel like Jabonje, when he's played, has looked really good. I don't think we know on Adu yet. We haven't seen enough with him. I hope he sticks around. That's I think he could be a good player for him. But does he stick around? I've got concerns about who stays and who goes after this year. And obviously, I don't know anything. I just read between the lines on these things.
Yeah, but that's where the most opportunity is going to be is those spots down there. So you'd think it'd benefit a guy to kind of stick around.
I think so. I mean, you've got Fulkerson leaving. And let's face it, man. I mean, Euros is what he is. He's had some good games like the last couple. He's kind of cooled back off and gone back to the way he is. I don't know. I think Barnes, he recruits defense first. I don't know. I'm one. If I'm a guy like Rick Barnes and I've coached that long, and defense is my specialty, I'm more relying I can teach a guy how to play defense. I can't necessarily teach a guy to be a scorer, though. I think he recruits to that, but it kind of blows my mind at times watching an SEC team out playing with 3 guys who can score and 2 guys who can't hit the wall if they shoot at it. I mean, I just kind of, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong on that. And again, I always say this, Rick Barnes has forgotten more about basketball than I'll know in my entire life. But still yet, I feel like if I had a team I'm recruiting shooters all around. If a guy can't score, I'm not recruiting them.
I mean, it makes sense. You don't want to handcuff yourself and play, essentially 4-on-3 or 4-on-5 or 3-on-5 when you've got 2 guys that are doing nothing on the offensive end. But at the same time, you look at some of the guys that couldn't get on the floor that did transfer out the last couple of years and the impact they're having at a lesser league. You're talking about Drew Pember, some of these other guys, Gaines, guys that are having big seasons offensively in competition that's not quite the SEC. So that might have a little bit to do with it as well. You look at the depth of the bench and you look at the talent level and drop off when you get down that bench. And some of those guys I don't think you're going to have success that you would a starting 5 guy would.
Yeah, and we'll see, man. It's a very good point. The guys you mentioned, and again, they're down in another league, but all of a sudden it's like,
yeah,
man, what could these guys have done to help? Because I know with Pember, he was a guy who could step out and shoot. He at least I think the more he developed could have kept defenses honest. Where a guy like Euros, if he steps out a foot, he's out of range, basically. I mean, it's just, Fulkerson, same thing. Fulkerson has no range on his shot. They're more inside guys. We saw Huntley Hatfield try to make a couple tonight. I mean, he missed, but at least he's taking some shots.
You say they're more inside guys, but they don't really have the body to beat and bang with a true post presence. So are they really inside guys? That's kind of that's the problem in and of itself with that position on this team.
I think Euros can beat and bang, but the only thing is, can he hold on to the ball when it's thrown into him? Can he, is he going to – I think he's trying to get a rep as a dirty – I don't think he's dirty. It's a physical league, so you have to be physical at times. And maybe the Florida game, they had a beef when he kind of pushed the dude away, but the Vanderbilt and LSU games –
that's just tough, trying to play tough.
I mean, there was
and I like
a lot of yapping going on.
Because that's been a criticism of him, being soft for a 7-footer. So it was good to see him kind of take that and go with it and, let his size have some presence out there on the floor.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's that's his game. Let him come in and, sometimes these teams have the pest, so to speak. I mean, he could be that guy that comes in, kind of stirs it up a little bit. We'll see. But just look at the point totals. We've not seen a box score like this in a while. Tennessee had some moments like this earlier in the season, but Chandler 16, 7 assists, 2 rebounds, 5 of 6 from the free throw line. He did have 4 turnovers, but he had 3 steals. Efficiency rating 17, Kalma 15 points, 3 blocks, only 1 turnover, 3 rebounds, 1 or 2 3-point range. Vescovy 13, bounced back from a tough game at Texas. We talked about it. How would this team respond when he had an off night? And we saw it. Had a even though they about, hats off, they about came back on that one. James 14 points, 5 steals, 1 block, 2 assists, 5 rebounds. Just looking at his line overall, 5 of 5 free from the free throw line, 1 of 2 from 3-point range. 4 is and only 21 minutes for him. Kind of seems a little low, but 25 efficiency rating, highest one on the team tonight, and that was a patented Josiah Jordan James game. Filling up the stat line. Euros 3 points. Let's see, 1 rebound. Oh, no. I'm sorry, 4. I'm looking at defensive rebound. James had 8 rebounds. Conway had 7 rebounds. I apologize on that. Victor Bailey, 5 points. I said it the other night after the Texas game. I used the Braves as an example on that, how the Braves, we looked at them. I mean, we could say it's an equal point maybe to where Tennessee is right now. And we said, well, the Braves are done. All of a sudden you bring in Soler, you bring in Rosario, you bring in Jock Peterson, and these guys, what happens? You win a World Series. I'm not saying Tennessee's going to go win a national championship, and you can't add a free agent or you can't trade for anyone, but are there guys within your own roster? A Victor Bailey who's starting to you're seeing a little bit of signs of it. A Justin Powell tonight. Can those guys get going and provide that boost down the stretch? Is it going to take for someone who's not a big-time contributor now to step up to get this team to another level down the line? What do you think?
Yeah, that's the key. Any guy that you've got coming off the bench, like I said earlier, you want them. You saw that with Powell tonight, coming in and having an impact on the game, not just coming in giving a starter a spell and eating up some minutes. They're actually doing some things that are positive. You look right now, the guys you got coming off the bench with Fulke not starting. So you got Fulkerson, you got Ziegler, you got Powell, Bailey, Huntley Hatfield. You've got guys that you've seen at some point in the season produce. So you're hoping they can take that role off the bench and come in and, not have to be a guy that is in the game running, that they can get in the game and then just, flip it on and start going. Um, I think that's a huge key with this team moving forward. Um, and why? Because like you just said, a point looking back to the Texas game, if your consistent guy, Vescovi, if he's having an off game, where does that leave you? You got to have somebody else step up, whether it's one of the other four guys starting or a guy coming off the bench and getting hot. But everybody's got to contribute.
Yeah, and I agree with it. See what happens. Have James as your core. James, tonight he played the game that I always picture is right for him. 2 3-pointers, that 2 or 3s. He's not the guy who needs to be taking 7, 8 3-pointers per game. He was driving. He was making things happen. That's his game. That's how they should be playing with him. He can do so much with his game. I mean, he can kick, he can pass, he can rebound. He can do what he needs to do. That is your guy who you can build, not necessarily as your main guy, but the guy does have a lot of talent. And you build around him where he can drive, he can kick. You've got some shooters who are out there as well. I mean, I mean, if Kamwa does like he does tonight, he's your number one post guy. And I think, we're still learning about Huntley Hatfield. I mean, we can all say here's the bottom line. We're all looking at Huntley Hatfield was a 5-star in high school. That's where all this comes from on it. Even reclassified, he was a 5-star, but
where he should still be.
Yeah, exactly. And it shows there. So but at the same time, Ziegler should still be there, and look what he's doing.
Yeah.
Too. And Huntley Hatfield's 6'10", 250, so I think the physicality should be there with him. Maybe just slower coming along. But you get these games like this from Kamwa. He can step out and keep the defenses honest. But I don't know. Field goals were good tonight, 50% right, 51%, 42% from three-point range, 78% from the free throw line. It's a good night. Won the rebounding battle. Let's see. Largest lead of 15 at one point. Never trailed, 22 assists to 11. They did have 17 turnovers tonight. Texas A&M's bench kept them in that game, outscored Tennessee's 58-29. They also outscored Tennessee on fast break points. But, I mean, it just let's see, I didn't get down to Ziegler. So he had 14 points tonight, 3 assists, 1 rebound, 2 of 6 from three-point range. I just think they're going to need more than just those core 3 or 4 guys that we see doing it. I think somebody's going to have to step up, whether it's a Bailey, a Powell. I mean, maybe Fulkerson. Maybe I'm kind of wondering if Fulkerson kind of is what he is for the duration of his time. I just don't think at this point, and I even made a video saying I thought Huntley Hatfield was the key to the season. I'm just not seeing it going to happen, whether it's lack of opportunity, whether they don't trust him, whether it's he's not putting in effort. I don't know. I just don't see it. Something's off there with it. But I also don't think your Euros, your Fulkerson guys are going to be the answer either. So does this team go with Kamwa to 5 and maybe spell him and just go 4-guard wing? Is that the way for them to go down the stretch? Because I mean, do you see Huntley Hatfield becoming a big factor down the stretch?
At this point in the year, no. But I mean, that you look at what we were talking about early in the season, and it was, why don't they go to a small guard lineup, and this team has gone on a bit of a run, at least in the win column, since really doing that. You talk about what they won their last 5 conference games. It's at least the last 4 because they were 3-0 going into the Texas game. They'd won their last 3 going into the Texas game.
Pulled up here. Have they lost since Kentucky in conference? Should know this, but I don't off the top of my head. Let me pull it up here and look and see. Of course, some of you guys in the chat.
I've been put under anesthesia since then, so.
yeah, I got you. Let's see here. So, lost at Kentucky. Yeah, they've won 3 in a row in conference. They beat Vandy, LSU, and Florida.
And then
lost to Texas. No, I'm sorry. They've won 4 in a row because Texas was not non-conference. They should win at South Carolina.
So, back to earlier, the point, I can't remember who threw it out there, talking about how big of a win this was in conference play, and how they could potentially be 9 wins in conference by the time they play Kentucky on Valentine's Day. It's anytime you get a win in conference is good. A road win in conference is even better. But I just, bottom line, I think this team is what it is. I think it's hard to expect them to come out and just blow a team out. And I don't know if you expect them to not be in a game towards the end. Just because they don't seem to give up. You saw that on the road at Texas. Got down big and then had a run and clawed back in. I know there's been a couple games this year the scores have been lopsided, but honestly, if you look at it, besides the Texas Tech and the Villanova game, every other loss they've been right in. So,
well, I mean, they were in Texas Tech.
Yeah,
I mean, it went to overtime. So.
Yeah.
I mean, LSU at LSU. I mean, that one was a little. That's
a game
even though they did claw back in that one, and Kentucky. I mean, on that day, Kentucky wasn't losing to anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way it was on that day, and then it's I've seen some Adu mentions. This is something I think a lot of us forget is I think Adu had mono in fall camp. I'll say in the fall. So he was behind. Hopefully he understands that and he's good with taking a red shirt and coming on. And I just don't know anymore with college sports the way they are. Guys going to get their feelings hurt because they don't play a red shirt and they're going to pick up head somewhere else. It seems to be the thing. Now, is that going to be the case if a young guy comes in, they don't want to sit a year? They're going to just pack their bags and head on. I don't know on that one if that's going to be the case. Hopefully these guys will stick around. But, I mean, again, this team's only losing 2 players. And I've seen some comments, well, Bailey, maybe he transfers down, or Powell. Powell can't transfer again without sitting out. And then Bailey is only going to have a year left. It's going to – and for him to transfer, I don't see how he can do it unless he goes to a division down, and he's not going to do that. So I think, Bailey's going to be there again next year. I feel Fulkerson obviously gone. I cannot see Chandler coming back. Maybe he should. I don't really disagree with it at this point. But if he's a first-round pick, he's going to go. He's going to get that money. Now, I've seen it where Keon and Springer are both in the G League. Could that happen to Chandler? I don't know. Depends on the situation. But I think where he's fallen, hopefully he could get a good situation late in the first round and go to a team. I mean, either of the Los Angeles teams could use him. Of course, the Lakers, I don't think the Lakers have a first-round pick again till I'm probably scheduled to be about 90 years old. They've traded them all away. But no, in all seriousness, I don't think the Lakers have one for like 5 years. But the Clippers, if they have one, they need point guard. there's other teams going to need it as well. I still think Chandler goes, but beyond that, I would love to see everybody stick around, develop that chemistry, that camaraderie. You hopefully no coaches leave, and you've got that gear. I still maintain, and you got B.J. Edwards coming in. They could add more, whether they add through the portal or whether they add a high school guy late. But I still maintain, and I saw somebody else said earlier in here, I feel a year, maybe a couple years down the line, if these guys stick around and develop, this could be a really, really strong team in a couple years on that.
Terry Reed throwing out the latest mock draft he saw shows Chandler late second round.
Ooh.
So I'd seen him dropped out of the first round, but not all the way to late second round. So I know he's kind of continually, steadily dropped, but
went from a lottery pick and keeps falling. So maybe that's the case. I mean, I'd love to see him come back. That would be phenomenal if you had him, Ziegler, and B.J. Edwards. I mean, you got a lineup, and then if you got, say, Hatfield back, Adu, all these guys, if everybody's stuck around on it, it could be big next year. I mean, because you got to think right here in regard to this, Jabari Smith ain't coming back at Auburn.
yeah.
Does Kessler leave too? I haven't seen, can't think right off the top of my head where he's been in mock drafts. Jabari Smith is probably top 2 or 3 at worst, if not top 2, in between him and Banchero. So that's that's a team for you. Hey, there we go. But
Troy Lee throws out, NBA drafts on potential, not what they do in college, and
yeah, they do.
That's completely the case, and that's why you look at a guy like Kennedy Chandler not having, kind of what we'd hoped coming in with all the hype and being a 5-star, but the ceiling for him with his athletic ability at that age, it's they got guys that make all kinds of money that look at these graphs, their talents and ability and age, and there's a curve, and it's all going to boil down to that. And then it's basically the kid and his family will get with the coaching staff at Tennessee, and they'll make a decision what's best for him. Does it make sense? Can he improve his status coming back? He came to Tennessee because he wanted to be coached hard. And I think Barnes is coaching him hard. I think he's learning. But I think that you do still see some of those freshman tendencies coming out. And sometimes they outshine the talent and ability that he has.
The talent's there. The talent and the ability's there. Like I said, though, he definitely a freshman. And, going back to Troy Lee's comment, too, about the NBA drafting on potential. How many times have we seen the guy who has a 43-inch vertical drafted over the guy who averaged 25 points per game? It's kind of a flawed concept, really, but it is what it is. That's the fact of it. Combine numbers outweigh what you do on the court for some reason. A lot, not all the time, but definitely part of the time. I mean, I guess it's twofold. If you get that first round money, it's guaranteed. But if you get second round money, you can make bigger money quicker because it's not guaranteed. So, these guys like a Draymond Green, a Gilbert Arenas back years ago, come in and their second round steals, they get paid pretty quick. They don't have to, because if you're in that first round, you're basically locked into a 4 or 5 year rookie contract unless they choose not to renew it.
Right.
At that point. So I don't know. It's a lot more risky though going as a second rounder because you're not guaranteed you're not guaranteed anything.
Got a couple guys talking NIL now. I just I don't know that I don't know under Rick Barnes if basketball NIL is going to take off and bring anybody in specifically because of that. I think he's a bit too old school. I think it is what it is until somebody else comes in.
Well, I think that we saw ramifications from that in recruiting this year. They were in on some real good prospects, but other than Edwards, they had a tough time. And I think some of the schools, there was like some common schools they kept recruiting against, Texas, Florida State. And it seems that there's some –
couldn't close out the deal.
Yeah. And, I know that when we had on the guy from Spire, can't remember, James, I believe was his name, he talked about, well, you technically can't offer this high school guy that. But, man, it's going on. It has to be.
I think it is. And I just don't know that the basketball side of NIL stuff will take off until after Barnes leaves, because I think he's so old school. I think he's, we're not going to pay to get recruits, even though it is legal and the norm. I don't think you're going to see any big time basketball NIL stuff at Tennessee.
I still don't. I mean, even though we talked about it, it's a case of I still don't know all I need to know about it. And I still think that as long as the NCAA is involved, I think there's going to be something. They're going to prove that there's been lines crossed with this. Okay. And I think you could probably prove it now. Now, this is one thing, too, that I noticed. These Kennedy Chandler and Huntley Hatfield have those cartoon shirts on Vol Shop. So, they're getting some money out of that.
Well, Fulkerson has, I think, a Milk Mayfield deal. He's got the Pals here in the Tri-Cities. He's a spokesman for Pals. But when we talked to James Lawson of Spire Sports Group, he was saying, yeah, we can talk to recruits and show them what current guys on the team have. What's it going to mean to a kid from, California that John Fulkerson has Mayfield Milk and Pal's fast food as an NIL sponsor? I mean, we're talking an NIL deal to make or break getting elite talent. I just don't see it happening at Tennessee right now under Rick Barnes.
No, and that's something they're going to have to get better at. I mean, it's the landscape. Coaches can say they don't like it or whatever, but the bottom line is if you don't like it, you're going to fall behind.
Yeah.
You got to get with the program on it. And, if Tennessee is with it, again, I still don't know how with the program they are. I've still got questions on it. But, maybe that could keep a Chandler around. I'm pulling up some mock drafts now on NBAdraft.net. Let's see where they've got him at here. Both of them I've found have him second round right now. Chandler, both of them to the Cavs. Let's see. The latest one 7 days ago with ESPN.com. Let's see where they got him. Last I saw, they still had him first round. I bet it's changed. No, they still got him 25 to the Milwaukee Bucks. That'd be an excellent landing spot for him. I think that's going to be your most recent ones. But the bottom line is he started off a lottery pick, and he's falling. Maybe NIL can do it. What? I don't know what. I keep saying I don't know what with NIL. I just don't know what you can involve, who you can involve. And everybody wants to say, well, bring the Haslams in, bring whomever. And, I don't know if the Dish Network guy, Anderson, I think's his name. I may be wrong on that one, but I don't know how involved he is. There's got to be something, and I think, of course, the fans getting involved. I think that's a tricky proposition, though. I don't think you'll rely on fans to do it because let's face it, most of the fans are your common person who can't afford to be paying an athlete on NIL. I get it. I understand it, but, I've got stuff of my own I've got to pay. I'm not paying an athlete. I'm not an owner.
I'm paying for 3 athletes right now, and it's expensive. I tell you what, I just bought a new bat bag. Last year was a bat, and that was like $400. Bat bag cleats this week, and that's just for one of them. Travel ball is expensive, but it's fun. Love watching them do what they love.
I miss the dirt. I know down here today, and I'm assuming it's probably like that back up there too, that tryout started today down here. And I know the old, the dead period is over.
Period's over. Yep.
Since it's February 1st, it would have ended. It would have actually opened up Monday, but all these closed behind doors batting practice sections and stuff, they're going on throughout the year. But, the NIL is where, again, I see stuff back and forth on it, but what is Texas A&M? What are Texas? What are these schools doing that Tennessee isn't? I would love to know all I need to know on that. Is it oil money? Is it, where's it coming from? Is it big business guys? I mean, if it's a case where the high school guy is not supposed to get paid, then something's got to be done. If they're being now, if it's just a case of here's your potential versus when you step on campus, here's your check for $500,000 going in your pocket. I mean, that's the big thing. So is it? I mean, I know Barnes has said this before, and goes back to your point on that. I don't think he's going to get it. He says, well, these guys better be careful what they're getting from these schools. So he's trying to be the honest guy on this, but.
Well, I mean, look at Baton Rouge. There's not much honesty in college basketball. Look at
Kansas.
Yeah. So, and that's not, Coach Barnes is a great man. I think he's a great coach. Proud that he represents the University of Tennessee the way he does. However, like you said, the NCAA has, opened this floodgate, and you've either got to, go along with the times or get left behind. And I think, to me personally, I think Barnes is going to ride out the rest of his contract, not get into anything that he's, any new territory, any major overhauls and changes to his philosophies and the way he coaches. But it's going to kind of be what it is.
It is. And, I don't know what the next step with the NIL is. I'm curious, do they have financial advisors involved in this?
It's a good
Are
question.
they, can they go out and hire? You're paying, if you've got this NIL, wouldn't it work to find a top-notch financial advisor, a top-notch investor, where we can multiply this money in that way? Obviously, that's not guaranteed money. That's more off of potential, but still yet, I think it's another aspect to it. What can these guys do to pocket the money and not have somebody else involved down the line? Is there something they can do to be their own lawyer, so to speak? What can you bring in? And I don't know. This is, some of it's probably ridiculous. I'm saying some of it. Okay, I wondered about this. So I think that's important. I think it was because help manage that money, help grow that money.
Look at all these guys that you've seen stories about, professional athletes finally getting that first big contract and those checks, and then have no money
Broke.
when they retire. Yeah. So I think that's a big part of it. It's just the floodgates have opened, and there are so many questions and so much murky water that it's hard to tell. And like we said a couple weeks ago when we talked to the guy from Spire, I think until the NCA kind of sets some sort of criteria that needs to be followed, um, it is kind of just a free for all. I mean, you saw, I don't know if any of y'all saw Lane Kiffin's comments about NIL, talking about there needs to be a cap. It's basically just free agency. But then again, you look at what's it been the last 10 so years? You've had a chunk of teams that are really good, and it's been those teams. So I don't know. I think the intents and purposes of NIL for getting the athletes some compensation for what they're doing for the university and all the money that they're bringing in is a good concept, but I think there needs to be some kind of framework to govern it, so there aren't loopholes and advantages, and like Brandon says here, gray areas.
I just think there's something, if these Texas schools are able to offer what others can't, why can they do that? I mean, is it just simply because it's their boosters and oil money? Are there, and I know that from Spire, he talked about different states, different regulations on it.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm the state of Tennessee and I see Texas is doing something to get an advantage, I would think I would want to try to match that somehow. But I don't know what the regulations are for it. And, I mean, it is there's gray areas. And I think Rick Barnes, he does have a point. How many of these guys are being promised the moon, and who knows when they get there? I mean, it's so new in the process. So is it, you wait and see. There's going to be stories come out of guys getting there and getting disappointed.
Right.
And
then, you look at it this way. There's the transfer portal. How many of these guys are getting promised the moon and the stars and everything out there, and then those aren't going to be delivered? So what's going to keep them from walking?
Too, one of these highly rated prospects, one of these highly rated transfers comes in and they're a non-factor. Are these people paying the NIL going to hold their bargain? Hey, I'm paying a bench warmer this money. How am I getting my money back? We'll see with it if it's. I'm curious to see how the businesses profit from it more than anything. Obviously, the student athletes are, but is it a profit for businesses? I mean, obviously, if you're a ball shop or something and you're selling.
It's a tax write-off, man.
Yeah, that's it.
It's an expenditure. That's all it is to them.
But it's a new age, and it's in all sports right now. It's not as publicized in others. Obviously, kids aren't going to make as much in baseball, or not even probably basketball to an extent as they are football. But NIL's going to. It may even things out as far as the college game versus the pro game in terms of basketball, but you're going to have your 4 certain guys every year. Jabari Smith, Banchero, Holmgren at Gonzaga. You're going to have those guys who I don't think you're going to be able to pay them enough to stay more than a year. They're coming. Right. And I'll be honest, what this should lead to in terms of basketball, and I'm a full-fledged supporter of this, it's time to do away with the come to college for a year.
Right.
It's done with. Guys are already going to the G League to play skipping. It's time to do away with it, because frankly, these guys are coming to school for a year, and how many times do you some of them, I mean, it's a good thing they come, they end up eventually getting their degrees, but how many of them are coming, doing what they need to for a semester and then screwing off for their just wasting time and resources? It's time to do away with that. Go to college for a year. Personally, I'd like to see it like it is in college baseball. You either go pro or you're coming for like 3 years, or in the case of Blade Tidwell, because of age, he can actually go pro after this year at 2 years. But I mean, still, that's not the worst thing either. But I just think the 1 year rule, I don't like it. Yeah. And especially with the NIL with money, time to let these guys go if they're able to go.
We certainly bird walked off of the basketball game tonight on the NIL, but
well, I mean but I mean it was a point with Chandler or some of these guys. Can that help them come back? It could be a factor. I'm just curious to see how Tennessee adapts with basketball with that. And I'm kind of like you. I wonder if it's a case of it'll be the next coach before they adapt to it. I think there's still a lot to know. I don't think Tennessee's as bad with NIL as some people think, but I also think they have room for improvement with it either. I think Spire is only a part of it, and I think there's going to be more to it than just Spire. I could be long. Maybe loveface.xyz can get involved. That's spamming us right now.
That'd be a good NIL deal for some of these guys.
Yeah, they could benefit from that one. Maybe not benefit from it. Might get some things they don't want to along the way. But I guess when we veer off like that, it's probably about that time to wrap it up. But just kind of going back, Tennessee 90-80. Not a beautiful performance. This team is what it is. They're going to have good stretches. They're going to have bad stretches. I am encouraged they put 90 up tonight because and somebody said it earlier, it's been 11 games since that. It's honestly a number I wondered if they would – I really wondered if they would hit 80 again this year, but hit 90. Maybe there's signs of coming out of this funk, and it's a very favorable schedule coming up. Just hit that real quick. Out South Carolina Saturday. There's no reason that they should go up there and lose that game. And then and by the way, on that, we will not be live Saturday. I'm actually going to be at the game. We'll drop a video later on with that. Next Wednesday, they will be against Mississippi State at 9. That's going to be a tough game on the road. Vandy at home. I expect them to hold court. I'm going to be curious to see when Kentucky comes to Knoxville. I don't think it's going to be near as bad as the first one, but I just don't know with Kentucky's style and the way they play that Tennessee can hang with. Maybe I'm wrong. I didn't expect much against Arizona, and they won that one. So maybe it's the same thing.
Right.
But what's your kind of thoughts down the stretch on this?
I mean, definitely got some games that they can win and should win. I think it's a case of, like we talked about, do they come out and play their own game, or do they come out and play to the level of their opponents? I like how this team has kind of turned the corner, and they've been playing better. So, you always talk about playing your best basketball at the end of the season. So that's something to take away and be positive about. But you do go back to, you can have such a good game and then turn around the very next game and play so bad. To me, that's and I guess it boils down to the lack of consistency you see from this team. Not just game to game, but player to player, night to night. I think we've talked about Vescovi has really been the one guy who kind of you can count on to get you. What's he averaging on the season, probably close to
About
15.
14.
15, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, 14, 15, right.
But at the same time, if you think about that, and he's probably leading the team averaging that.
Yep.
When your leading scorer is averaging 14, 15 points, you've got a bunch of guys that are, around that 10 mark, or you've got one guy doing everything and you're eking out wins. And that's really what this team's been doing. They've been playing really good defense and having just enough offense to scrape by. And you saw what happens when your one consistent guy isn't consistent. There's not enough offense to scrape by Saturday against Texas. So it'll be interesting to see how it boils out. We talked about tonight getting some contributions from guys like Powell and Kumwa, and seeing if those can become a little bit more frequent, getting production off the bench. Even getting the W tonight, A&M's bench outscored Tennessee's bench
Big time.
by 20.
58-29. Yep.
Okay, yeah, almost 30 points. So I think that's the big thing moving forward. I think you've got to get a little bit more production from some other guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been up since 4:40 this morning. So yeah, it's the old butts of dragon at this point for sure. I'm still sticking with what I've said. Looking schedule, I'm picking 20-10 for them to finish up. Right now, they are sitting at 15-6 on the season. So I'm kind of picking almost a split down the stretch. There's some favorable games, but there's also some tough ones. I still think they win at South Carolina Saturday. I've got them picking. I'm picking, and I hope I'm wrong, to lose at Mississippi State. I think that's a tough game. It's a road game. I got them winning against Vandy. I just do not like their matching up with Kentucky. Don't like it. I got Kentucky winning in Knoxville. At Arkansas, it's another one. I've got them losing that one because it's on the road. Got them taking Missouri at Missouri, but I don't think it'll be easy. It's going to be a gritty game. It's going to be a low-scoring game. Auburn at home. Don't like the matchup at all with Auburn. I expect Auburn to win, but I do expect Tennessee to finish out. Of course, Georgia, they had a win over Alabama recently. We've talked about it. Some good teams have gone down to Georgia and lost, but I do expect them to win that one, and then they finish with Arkansas at home for the season. Because it's at home, I expect them to win that one. But that would put them at 20-10. I don't think that's a bad season. Hopefully they can get a couple of wins in the conference tournament. It'd be cool if they win it. I just don't see it. I don't see at any point with Kentucky nor Auburn where they match up well with that. Now, Evan counts for 20. Thank you very much, Evan. We appreciate you on that.
Doesn't have anything to say. Just a old tip in the tip jar, as Boogie says.
Yeah,
so we appreciate that, Evan.
We do. And on that one, guys, I think we're right at 59 minutes. If you have not already, go ahead and hit like, hit subscribe. We'll have to let you know on the live schedule. It does not set up good with 9 o'clock next week. Next Wednesday, off Saturday. So we'll keep you informed on it. These weeknight late games like that are almost impossible to do. So it may be an early video on Thursday. Next live show may be Vanderbilt. 2 weeks, 2 Saturdays from now, we'll keep you posted on that. But we're going to get out here and call this thing a night. You guys have a good one. Tennessee wins 90-80. Hopefully things will keep rolling on Saturday. The Indy Kid's going to be there live and in person. If you're going to be at the game or in the area, leave a comment after. Maybe we can meet up or something at the game. But he's Dauber. I'm the Indy Kid. We are the Talkin VAWLS Network. Have a good evening. Go Big Orange.
The songs that we call